So this facility has been in continuous operation for the last 55 years. The last time that we did a major upgrade was in 1999, so about 25 years ago. So the project that we're proposing right now is sort of a planned refurbishment, reconstruction of the plant. After 25 years, equipment wears out, as you saw in the tour, pumps get old, blowers break down. So we really need to replace and repair all that equipment on a regular cycle. Also, it gives us an opportunity to put in new technology, so like the effluent heat recovery system I was talking about that's going to heat the buildings. These reconstructions allow us to sort of incorporate that into the facility, and then that adds to our energy efficiency, adding resiliency. So again, that clarifier, the additional secondary clarifier, is going to make the plant much more resilient in case of large storm or high flow events. So all exciting things as part of the project. The whole project is about $44 million. And we have the supplemental bond vote coming up. So that is certainly a little more than we originally anticipated. The additional bond vote is for $16.4 million we're asking the voters to consider. That'll allow us to finish construction of the project. A variety of reasons for the cost increase. So we originally did some preliminary engineering. Engineer went through the facility, looked at all the equipment, made a rough idea of how and what we were going to do. We had then a bond vote. The original bond vote was in March 2023. That actually covered 3 separate wastewater projects in the city. So it covered the Bartlett Bay facility, refurbishment, Airport Parkway. We're actually adding a clarifier at that plant right now, and then some pump station upgrades in and around the Queen City Park neighborhood. As we got into final design of the Bartlett Bay plant, we realized a few things as far as the plant was going. Some permitting issues, we're not allowed to use some space, we thought, so it kind of squished things together, made it a little more difficult to construct. Decided at that point that we needed to add an additional clarifier, which wasn't originally in the plan. And then sort of a lot of external factors contribute to the cost increase. We got some BABA requirements, Build America, Buy America. Tariffs are affecting the cost of equipment. Price of fuel, so all those things go in. So when we put the project out to bid, it came back higher than we'd originally hoped or thought it might. So that's why we're going back and asking the voters for some additional funding to complete this project.
Is there an estimation on how much you would save in operational costs with these upgrades?
Yes, going from memory, I think we'll save about $200,000 a year in operational costs. I should note the effluent heat exchanger, we did get a $700,000 grant to do that work, so that helps certainly pay for that and make that possible. But another thing we're adding to the plant is a digital performance platform, which is a fancy way to say we'll have sensors throughout the plant, and then the facility will have like a digital twin that lives in the cloud. So the facility will feed information from sensors to some AI in the cloud, and then over time it'll learn, and that'll help us optimize what we do here. So we can decide to optimize the plant to, say, run in the most efficient way possible, or run so that it removes the maximum amount of phosphorus, or kind of whatever component we want. We can then work with that software to control the plant to a much finer degree than we can now. Certainly our operators would still make changes, but that software really allows us to make better informed decisions. And again, a lot of that's geared towards efficiency, electrical efficiency, treatment efficiencies, things of that nature. So what we're looking at here, this is the grit channel. So all the wastewater that enters the facility comes in through here. Some of the larger particles, sand, things like that settle out in this channel, and then we clean that out periodically. It's important to screen all these materials out because all the material we remove here protects all the pumps and other equipment downstream. You don't want this like sand or something coming through and kind of sandblasting your pumps and equipment because it reduces the lifespan of those pieces of equipment. So this is what we'll go to the headworks. And I might stand outside because this is kind of loud.
Yeah.
And so the microphone would pick it up. This is also, fair warning, the worst smelling portion of the tour. After the wastewater gets through the grit channel, it comes to the screen. This is a 12 millimeter screen we have right now. In the upgrade, we're proposing to have a 4 millimeter screen, so it'll do a better job of removing material before it gets into the rest of the plant. So So this is the most, the visually interesting part of the tour, I guess I'd say. Actually, come on over here. It's the same on both sides. Get a better view. So these are the aeration tanks. So after all the wastewater goes through the headworks, it enters on the far end here. And then this water is aerated, kind of feeds the biology that's in there. It helps break down everything in the wastewater. Some settling occurs as well. And then it goes through an anaerobic zone, so no oxygen zone. So in our project, we're actually going to reuse this tanks, but we're going to change the process a little bit so it can help. Well, this removes phosphorus. It'll be better at breaking down nitrogen to help with our nitrogen reductions at the plant. So it'll have more of an aerobic back and forth in the new process. But you can see kind of all the air bubbling here.
Pioneer was just here today anyway, looking at the top bearings in it.
So we've got 2 working now? One. We're working on 2?
We're trying to get the soft start replaced by Pioneer.
Got it.
Soft start or VFD, he was here today, so I think we may start tomorrow.
Yeah.
That should be that one. We just took the motor that was on here and put it on here because that motor was actually bad, but we sent it out, they rebuilt it.
Okay.
So that's going back on this one. We just got to get this one pulled apart and new bearings put in it.
So I don't know if you'll be able to hear me if I talk. Should I go behind you where it's quieter? Or? I'm okay? Okay. So what we're looking at here is the blowers. So those aeration tanks, this is what blows the air into them. These are quite old. These blowers are very much in need of replacement. We're down to 1 blower at the moment. We're currently cannibalizing parts from the 3rd one so that we'll have 2 working blowers to get us to the point where we actually do the upgrade project to be able to do the treatment process. Really excited. The new blowers will have variable drives. So right now, these are all on or all off. So they use electricity quite a bit. The new ones are much more efficient and we can turn them on to different degrees so that depending what's going on in the process, we can blow more air or less, use more electricity or less. So we're looking forward to that level of control in the new facility. Thanks, Dan. So we'll look at current sludge handling in a moment, but this building is going away and there's going to be a new sludge storage and chemical storage facility here. This is just an older metal building, kind of end of its useful life anyway. So this will come down and we'll have a nice storage facility here. I'll show you the existing storage facility in a minute. So after it goes through the aeration tanks, water actually gets pumped up to another set of aeration tanks that are a little higher, and then it flows gravity down. These are the secondary clarifiers. So this is sort of a final, well, one of the final stages in the treatment process. So the wastewater comes in the middle, and then it flows over the edge before it goes to the filter and UV treatment building. You can see how much cleaner the water's already looking here versus when it came into the plant. And so one of the mechanisms the ways wastewater is treated is through settling. So all that material is settled out, is caught in the bottom, called it a sludge. And then that's stored in this big tank behind you, this big blue tank. This tank has also been in operation for many decades. It's towards the end of its useful life. You could see on the left there above the hatch, there's a hole we had to patch up. There's some other holes higher up. So we're not actually able to even fill this tank all the way up. So we're building a new sludge holding facility, which will hold more sludge. This material is actually trucked from this plant, the Bartlett Bay wastewater plant, to our Airport Parkway plant, where it undergoes additional treatment to become what we call a Class A biosolid. And so this will allow us to sort of reduce the number of truck trips, get some more water out of it before we haul it, and kind of reduce the number of times we have to drive back and forth between the facilities.
I went through the whole thing and re-looked at everything, checked the bearings, everything else there. The one in the middle of number 2 is shot. This one runs, but it's got a bearing issue.
Part of the new project is adding a third secondary clarifier. So right now we have 2 clarifiers. A third was important. It'll help us deal with some larger storm events. So when it rains, that rainwater kind of gets into our wastewater system, increases flows. We are finding that with some of those larger storm events where we get more infiltration into the wastewater system, the plant was nearing capacity. Plenty of capacity for day-to-day treatment and even some room for growth, but in those big storm events we were seeing some issues. So adding that third clarifier will help us make sure the plant can operate safely, kind of add some resiliency to it. It also allows us to take one of these tanks down so we can do maintenance. Right now, if we take a tank down, we only have 1 clarifier, and we're not really able to run the plant on a single clarifier. So having that redundancy, having that extra tank allows us to always have 2 online, and we can still run the plant and operate it for its permitted capacity. I guess one other thing I'll point out while we're standing here. So this is our current operations building. This is sort of original, pretty old building. We're actually moving this. There's a wetland back there, and this building's getting moved out of that wetland buffer, and it's going to be over here towards the entrance more. So a new facility with a garage bay will get installed. It'll be a lot more modern. It'll have a lab in it so we can do some testing on site, so that'll be nice so we don't have to bring samples back and forth to the other lab as well. So this is the final step in the treatment process. There's 2 things that happen in this building. So here's the filters. So that wastewater that leaves the secondary clarifier goes through these filters. These are getting replaced with a much finer filter to do a better job removing things before discharge. And then below our feet here, UV lights. So these break down pathogens, bacteria, and virus. So this is the final step in the treatment process. So the filters, like I said, we're going to get newer filters, finer mesh, if you will. And the UV light system, this is obsolete right now, what we have in place. So it still does a fine job providing that final treatment step. But the manufacturer no longer services them. So we sort of run that risk. Also, we should have more control over the filters. So they should be on brighter, more bright or less bright, depending on the turbidity of the wastewater and flow. That controller broke, we're not able to service it, so now they're on full all the time to ensure that treatment. So one of the things we're really excited about is replacing that as well, because again, it'll be a efficiency thing, right? Some cost savings there in electrical use. I don't know if there's is there a better shot of UV lights anywhere, Dan? Or is there a better shot of UV lights? I don't think so. Oh, if you don't mind. Yeah, the new UV filters will have a configuration that makes them a lot easier to service, which our plant operators will appreciate. So one of the things we're excited to add is we're going to have an effluent heat exchanger. This is new. We received a congressionally directed spending grant that made this possible, really facilitated us to be able to look into this. So wastewater is warm. We're going to strip the heat out of the wastewater at this last step after it's treated. And then we're going to use that warm water to heat the buildings actually. So it's going to cut down our use of natural gas by something like 95, 99% depending. We're only going to have that as a backup system. The buildings will be heated all winter just by stripping the heat out of the wastewater, which is a really exciting thing. Again, major upgrade in efficiency that the plant doesn't have at the moment. I don't know if you can get a shot of that over there behind me, the greenhouse. So that is going away. That used to be a living machine operated by the University of Vermont. They had a grant where they would take some wastewater from the treatment facility and provide treatment through sort of some tanks in there with plants and fish and things like that. Their grant ran out and the project sort of was left as is. So it's been sort of decaying over the last decade or two. It's become a bit of an eyesore. And so we're excited that that's going to go away, and actually that area is going to get replaced with some nice landscaping. But that's kind of right at the plant entrance right now. So, and that'll go away. It's a bit of a hazard. We don't let folks in there just because some of the old panels fell in.
What a difference. This is the influent that's coming into the plant. This is after all the, this right here is your final, after the processes have all done what they're supposed to do here, so it's pretty much crystal clear. Influent, effluent. This is our final going back out to the rivers and streams, to the lake.
Yeah, actually, so I guess another thing to note, another important piece of completing these upgrades, so this is an environmental project. All the wastewater collected here treated is discharged to Lake Champlain. The current facility does an excellent job of removing nutrients, specifically phosphorus. Too much phosphorus can be a problem for the lake. So the current facility removes about 99% of the phosphorus that comes in. Pretty amazing when you think about it, actually. The refurbished facility that's proposed will provide the same treatment efficiency. So again, removing 99% of that phosphorus, but it'll do it in a much more efficient way. So it'll lower cost operationally, again, with those energy savings and other things we talked about during the tour. We currently have a rate model for our wastewater utility. It's predicting rate increases around 7–8%, and that is baking in the costs of the original cost of this plant upgrade. With the additional $16.4 million, it would raise that percent increase by 1 to 3% depending on year for the next 5 years. So it is an increase, certainly. It's on the smaller side, but it's a little more increase than we had anticipated originally.